Hi there, smart driver. Getting your car ready for the winter season, which is upon us as we speak. So your car's maintenance, look after your ride will look after you. For me, I've had the buggy for 11 years. In 11 years, the buggy left me on the side of the road one time that we had to call a wrecker and have it towed into the shop. The other time that it left me on the side of the road, I was only 2 blocks from home, so I just walked home, called the wrecker. If something needs to be fixed on the buggy, my 1998 Honda CR-V, I just take it into the shop and I get it fixed. Okay, so I look after my ride and my ride looks after me, and it's the same with your vehicle, and I'm sure that most people here are looking after their vehicles and doing the maintenance and whatnot that they need to do when they're driving. So oil and tires, these are the things that are the most common maintenance issues on your vehicle that need to be done every 3,000 to 5,000 miles. Tire rotations will be done every 2 oil changes, 8,000 miles or 10 to 12,000 kilometers. Now, I do know that some technicians, some auto manufacturers do claim that you can do 12,000, 14,000 kilometers on an oil change, which is like 8,000, 9,000 miles on an oil change. Personally, I would never do that on any engine. And you talk to any automotive technician, they will tell you that certain vehicles can just not do that. Okay, the oil has to be changed, or otherwise the engine will just be kaput and will not have any life to it. If you keep the oil changed in them, they'll last forever. It's the same thing with the engine in the buggy. If you put the timing belt in right and change the oil on a regular basis, that engine will just keep going forever, but otherwise it won't. So changing the oil is important, and I cannot stress that. Oil is cheap. Engines are not. All right. Tires, as I said, it's the only thing between you and the roadway. So have good quality tires on your vehicle. And if you're driving like Marion, you're probably going to put a new set of tires on your vehicle every 8 to 10 years. If you're driving like me, I don't really drive a whole lot because I don't drive to work every day and whatnot. I probably put a new set of tires in the buggy every 5 or 6 years. If you're driving to work every day and you're driving, say, 20 miles a day, every day back and forth, so a total of 40 miles a day, you're probably going to be putting a new set of tires on your vehicle every couple of years. Now, if you're driving an electric vehicle, and this is one of the downsides to having an electric vehicle, you're going to be putting 1 to 2 sets of tires a year on your vehicle, because electric vehicles are super heavy, and as well they have a great deal of torque which wears out the tires on the vehicle. Know that if you're considering buying an electric vehicle. And I had somebody leave a comment because I asked the question in the poll on the weekend, if money wasn't an object. The question didn't really work, because if money wasn't an object, what kind of vehicle would you buy? And the options were gasoline, diesel, hybrid, or electric. And of course, many people are against gasoline engines because they drank the Kool-Aid about how terrible gasoline engines are. But the reality is if you buy an electric vehicle, then you're just tearing up tires and you're buying tires for your vehicle all the time. So there are benefits and there are downsides to all of these different kinds of vehicles we have on our roadways. Filters, engine air filter should be changed every 20,000 miles. Okay? No, sorry, 10,000 miles for engine air filters, 8,000 to 15,000 miles for engine air filters. Okay? Fuel filters, 10 to 15,000 kilometers. 10 to 15,000 miles, dusty, dirty roads, K&N filters. Okay, K&N filters are recycled filters, and I have one in the buggy for the air filter, and the air filter, the engine air filter, should be cleaned every spring, every fall for a K&N filter, a reusable filter. That's what I was trying to say. Engine air filter, engine fuel filter, okay? And if you don't know anything about these, take them to a technician and get them to do them. This is part of your regular maintenance. Cabin filters every 2 years. I change the one on the buggy every year because I have had it look like this as it does in the picture. Absolutely disgusting. Talking about winter time, if you don't have good defrost in your vehicle, the first thing that you want to do is change the cabin filter, because the cabin filter will get plugged as it is here in the picture, and air will not be able to get through it, and you will not have defrost. That's your first point of call if your defrost is not clearing the windshield in your vehicle. The second port of call is to look at the thermostat in your vehicle. And the way that you will know that the thermostat is not working in your vehicle, because your vehicle takes a very long time to get up to operating temperature when you're driving it. The thermostat is a block in it's a stopper in the coolant system. So until the engine reaches operating temperature, the thermostat will stay closed and not allow the coolant inside the engine to circulate. When the thermostat is broken, its default setting is to stay open, so the coolant will continue to circulate through the engine block and the radiator in your engine. When that happens, it takes a very long time for the coolant to heat up and the engine to get up to operating temperature. What happens is you don't get any heat inside the cabin of your vehicle because that's secondary to the heat inside the engine and the engine heat. All right, so if you don't have defrost, you don't have heat in your car, the first is your cabin filter, the second is the thermostat inside the engine. Okay, automatic transmission fluid, 50 to 80,000 miles, you should be changing the automatic transmission fluid on your vehicle, 125,000 kilometers. Marion, your air filter looked like that when they changed it. Yeah, that's not good when it looks like that. No filter should look like that when they change it out. All right. Paul, drivers, when they turn right, please make sure you shoulder check for any bicycles close by your vehicle. Yes. Shoulder check, ABS, always be scanning. Okay, fluids, transmission fluids, differential fluids, radiator fluids. These all need to be changed on regular basis. Radiator fluid, not so much, okay? But take it to a technician that you trust, get him or her to check over your vehicle and do the regular maintenance as per the requirements. In the owner's manual, you don't have the owner's manual or access to it, then Google it. There are many websites dedicated to helping you keep your vehicle run smoothly and tip-top shape. Belts, brakes, and batteries, timing belts every 100,000 miles. And if you have what's called an interference motor, then you definitely have to change the timing belt. And this is why I changed the timing belt in the buggy, because it's an interference motor. And if you don't change the timing belt and it breaks, it will do a lot of damage to the engine. And then you have to get in there and do rebuilding. And again, it's a costly repair as opposed to just the $1,000 is going to cost you to change the timing belt. Brakes, 50 to 75,000 miles for brakes. And again, if you're doing a lot of hard braking and you're doing a lot of driving, it might be once a year, every twice a year, you got to replace the brakes on your vehicle. Just talking about brakes, talking about defensive driving, keeping space in front, that will reduce your braking when you're driving and prolong the life of your vehicle and the brakes on it, okay? Batteries every 5 to 10 years. I have had batteries that have lasted longer than that. The first Honda CR-V that I had, we changed the battery out of it, and I know that for a fact that it was the original battery that was in it, and at that juncture it was 13 years old at that time, so the battery had been 13 years old. Suspensions and tires, tire quality, 50 to 75,000 miles for different tires depending on what kind of vehicle you're driving, whether you're driving a high-end sports car, whether you're driving an SUV, or you're driving a regular sedan. Tires are going to vary. The life of the tires is going to vary. Also depends, as Ann was just saying, about how much braking you're doing, how hard you're braking, you know, or whether you're practicing defensive driving, you're going easy and gentle around corners and this types of things. All of these different kinds of driving practices will have different effects on the life of your tires. All right, electrical, spark plugs, 12 to 15,000 miles. Most of the time, unless you're really handy with a car, you know, let a technician change the spark plugs and the wires, the rotors, and the cap. Most of the time, this is done during a major tune-up, which is generally around 80,000 miles. 100,000 kilometers, all of this is going to be done to your vehicle. And again, this is part of what your technician is going to be doing and part of the maintenance schedule according to the owner's manual of your vehicle. Troubleshooting, okay, fuel injector cleaner, you can put some of this in once every 6 months. Thermostats, air conditioning, we talked about that. Your air conditioning should be running in the wintertime on some models of vehicles, and the air conditioning will help to dry out the air in the cabin of your vehicle and to defrost and clear the glass faster. Cabin filters, as I already talked about, if you are having difficulty in clearing the glass with the defrost inside your vehicle, check the cabin filter. Some vehicles it's easy to change. You snap open the latch, pull the cabin filter out and change it. In the old Honda buggy, the Honda CR-V that I have, it's a little more complicated than that. Probably takes about 40 minutes because I got to take part of the dash apart. But other ones, my mom's Pontiac Montana, for example, it's just a latch inside the glove box and it's very easy to change. Fuses, something's not working, electrical mirrors and those types of things, just check the fuses and see if the fuse is burnt out or whatnot. And again, if you're not comfortable with doing that, then get a technician to have a look at your vehicle. Lights and tire inspection, this is something that you should do once a month. Get out, check, make sure all the lights work on your vehicle. tail lights, signals, brake lights, emergency lights, the four-way flashes is what I'm talking about when I say emergency lights. Make sure all those are working. Make sure that your reverse lights are working. High beams, low beams. Make sure that your windshield washer fluid works, wipers work and squirt. Make sure that you have decent quality windshield wipers on your vehicle and whatnot. And inspect your tires. Make sure that there isn't any irregular wear on your tires and whatnot, because if there is, the tire is wearing on one side or the other and it's uneven, that could suggest that there's something wrong with your vehicle, and you could take it in, get an alignment done on it, and that will prolong the life of your tires instead of wearing them out. I had an alignment problem on the Honda CR-V at one juncture and basically wore out a set of tires at 50,000 kilometers, which was about 25,000 miles. And very disappointing to have to buy a new set of tires when, you know, all you could have done was gotten an alignment on your vehicle, and it would have prolonged the life of the tires on your vehicle. All right, good luck on your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Two things happened today. We got frost this morning where I live, and so the temperatures were below zero. And as well, I went into the shop this morning, the mechanic shop, and busy, busy, busy. It is tire season. So if you are switching your all-season tires over to winter tires, you need to book right away to be able to get in with the next couple of weeks, because the tire shops, as you know, if you've done this before, they are very, very busy in terms of switching tires from all-season tires to winter tires. And the reason I'm saying all-season tires is due to the fact that there really isn't such a thing as summer tires anymore. There used to be back in the days of bias ply, but we haven't had bias ply tires for a very, very long time, decades in fact. So this is what you need to be doing. So if you're anywhere, you know, in Canada and the northern states in the United States, you're in Michigan, Minnesota, Indiana, northern parts of Indiana, you definitely need to be getting in and getting your all-season tires switched over to your winter tires. And I'm not making advertisements for winter tires and those types of things, but as we've talked about previously, winter tires definitely help you out if you are running around on hard pack in the mountains, such as I would be, going up to the ski hill every day, or, you know, you just get a lot of snow and ice on the roadways. You may consider putting steel-studded tires on your vehicle if you're running hard pack. As you may or may not know, in the winter time, if they cannot get all the snow and ice off the roadway, what happens is it begins to build up, and you get a layer of ice and snow on the roadway, and you're actually driving on that, and that is called hard pack. If you're driving in those conditions in the wintertime, then steel-studded tires are definitely recommended. And check with local laws is about whether you can actually put steel-studded tires on your vehicle. Ontario, for example, Michigan, other states, they prohibit steel-studded tires on. And here in British Columbia, where you can in fact run steel-studded tires, the time that you have to take them off your vehicle, I believe it's the 30th of March. Corey would probably look that up for us, or if Tim was here, Tim would be able to tell us the exact date you had to take them off your vehicle. Blessed is here. Hello, my friend. You do not get much winter there in the state of Hawaii. Amy, my friend, your husband did yours. Excellent. Today, what we're talking about is helping you get your vehicle ready for winter time, checking all the fluids under the hood, making sure the windshield wipers are good, making sure that your defrost works inside your vehicle, make sure the heat works, tires are in good condition. For example, the tires on the buggy, this is the last year that I'm going to be on the all-season tires that I run in the summertime, and I'm going to have to replace those next year. So they're like completely worn out. They're on their last days, and there are times when I'm kind of on an uphill, and if, you know, I'm kind of aggressive getting off the clutch, then the tires will spin. So because it's minimum tread, they're right down to the wear bars on the tires. Marion, do you have a cold? Yes, I do have a cold, Marion. You know, I debated whether I was going to do the live stream or not, because I just feel really terrible. I blame my son. He gave it to me. Corey, studded tires may only be used in BC highways from the 1st of October to the 30th of April. So there we go. So I was off by a month. So it's the end of April that steel studded tires have to be on your vehicle. Now, there are other downsides is one downside to steel studded tires. They are incredibly hard on asphalt. That's why they limit them to those dates here in the province. And the other downside of steel studded tires is that they are incredibly noisy. There is a lot of road noise, and if you're walking around and people have steel-studded tires on their vehicles, you can hear them going up and down the roadway because they are just really noisy. And personally, I wouldn't have them on my vehicle. I had some when I first bought the buggy. They came with the buggy, and I put them on and used them until they didn't work anymore, or till they were worn out. but I would not replace them with steel-studded tires. I would just buy regular winter tires for the buggy. Blessed, yes, I still have the black Honda CR-V. Yes, I do. I'm still driving it. I put another motor in it at Christmas time because unfortunately the technician that put the timing belt in it twice, not just once, but twice, took a rod out of it at 400,000 kilometers, which is, I don't know, what, 230,000 miles? And unfortunately, you know, they said to me, oh, you can rebuild the motor. And I'm like, I am not rebuilding a motor with 400,000 kilometers on it. So they got me another motor for it that had like 125,000 kilometers on it, 80,000 miles, and put a clutch in it, put a bunch of new other stuff in it as well. I mean, it's like it's brand new now. I mean, it runs great. It absolutely runs great. It's good for another 400,000 kilometers. So, you know, somebody was asking me about it at the dog park the other day, the buggy, the 1998 Honda CR-V, and they're like, oh, it's really good. And I'm like, you know, I don't think there's other than the body and the doors, I don't think there's an original part left on that thing. Everything's been changed and replaced on it. Yeah, blessed, how long has it been now? 11 years. I've had it 11 years. Yep. And so, yeah. And, you know, we've been talking about this a lot because Tracy's Audi just had a big mechanical breakdown. It was like $10,000 to fix it. And she's trying to decide what she's going to do, how much money she's going to spend trying to fix the vehicle. My mate, him and I own the house together, he just bought another truck. It was the truck, and it's like, okay, do you spend $7,000 or $8,000 to fix your vehicle, or do you go out and buy another one? But the other thing is that he went out and got a 2017 pickup truck, and he's got a truck payment of $650 a month for the next 8 years. And you ask yourself, okay, do I have a car payment every month, or do I come up with the money to fix it, which is a lot of money, right? I mean, anything over $2,000 on a car is a lot of money, which most of us don't have. And it was the same thing when I put the new clutch and the new motor in the buggy. It was over $6,000. So, you know, but you cannot buy a used vehicle for less than $8,000 or $10,000 now. It's crazy how expensive secondhand vehicles are. They're just over the top expensive. And there are some of these secondhand vehicles, these used vehicles that are like 2 years old, they are more expensive. We were at Honda and they had some secondhand 2-year-old vehicles there. They were more expensive than some of the new ones, these 2-year-old vehicles. They were like $37,000. And I was like, I am not spending $37,000 on a secondhand vehicle that's 2 years old. Just insane. But at one and the same time, you know, how much money do you spend on a car? It's one thing when you got a car payment and then you got a huge maintenance bill, you know, of $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000. The thing about the buggy is I've never had a car payment on the buggy. So, you know, yes, I've spent a lot of money in terms of maintenance on it, but at one and the same time, I have never had a car payment. And I'll tell you, every month you got a car payment in addition to your rent and your mortgage. That hurts. That's a lot of money every month that you're putting out for a car payment for something to drive around. Blessed, it depends on the situation. Yeah, it really does depend on the situation, what you're doing, what you're looking for, and those types of things. So, Evan, though you shouldn't cross a solid white line in general, it would be a good idea if you want to avoid a crash with someone unpredictable. I'm not changing the subject, but forgot to mention this earlier. Yes, what Evan is talking about at crosswalks, at intersections, for the most part, there are solid white lines, and solid white lines, as you know, white lines divide traffic traveling in the same direction. Solid white lines prohibit changing lanes at that location. And as well, you know, changing lanes and merging in intersections, you really should not be changing lanes in intersections. It's one maneuver to move through the intersection. It's a completely different maneuver to be merging, and you don't want to be moving through an intersection and merging at the same time. More than 40% of crashes happen at intersections. Therefore, you want to do things serially in a linear fashion. In other words, you want to move through the intersection, then you want to change lanes. Do not change lanes in the intersection unless something has happened in the intersection. For example, there's a crash, or you've been directed to move into the other lane, or there's an emergency vehicle or whatnot. But for the most part, okay, do not, as a golden rule of driving, do not change lanes in an intersection. It is the same golden rule of 3 to 4 second following distance, stopping back in traffic, 1 vehicle length, and shoulder checking every time you change directions of the vehicle. ABS, always be scanning. Ilya, secondary market is very expensive here in Europe now too. Okay, so it's expensive to buy secondhand vehicles in Europe as well. All of this, I believe, my thinking about it is that it has filtered down from the pandemic and inflation and reduction in the amount of new vehicles available. And because there weren't new vehicles available, everybody hung on to their second-hand vehicles, and then they got their second-hand vehicles fixed. Yes, in Europe as well, second-hand markets are very expensive. And I mean, in terms of new vehicles, you know, it's crazy some of the things that they're offering. Here in Vernon, there is one of the dealerships, the Dodge Ram Jeep dealership, is advertising 10-year warranty, 160,000 kilometer drivetrain warranty. In addition to that, I believe they're waiving 50% of your car payments for the first year, and in addition to that, they're giving you a large screen television. So they're really, really selling, really pushing hard, trying to sell new vehicles to people. So there's a lot going on there in terms of new vehicles. Mary and I witnessed some goofy drivers this morning. 3 people avoided the slip lane and turned right at the actual intersection. Believe it or not, Mary, that's not illegal. It's perfectly legal to be able to do that. Rather than turning at the slip lane, if you go past the slip lane and then you turn right, that's perfectly legal to do that. You just got to watch, do a shoulder check once you go past the slip lanes to make sure that there isn't anybody coming out at that juncture. So yes, so we got kind of carried away here, or no, we got off on a tangent with talking about new vehicles, secondhand vehicles, maintenance, what you're going to do in terms of maintenance when your vehicle goes sideways and costs you a lot of money and those types of things. And this isn't anything new. I mean, you know, it's in terms of liability, a vehicle as a financial liability, this has been something that has been going on for a very long time. And, you know, 12 years ago when I was working at the driving school, John, the old instructor there, he had a Ford 6-liter. They affectionately called it the sick liter. It was a diesel engine that Ford produced, and it had like 120,000 kilometers on it, which is absolutely nothing on a diesel engine. And he had to spend $13,000 rebuilding the top end of the motor. There was a known problem with these 6-liter diesel engines that Ford produced, and just a tremendous amount of money in a vehicle that had barely any miles on it, because as you know, with diesel engines, these engines will go 1,000,000 kilometers, you know, 620,000 miles. And if you look after them and keep the oil changed in them, and just crazy that at 80,000 miles, he had to spend that kind of money on it. So it's, you know, it's always a question of whether you're going to spend the money on them to repair them, or you're going to buy another secondhand vehicle and then something happens to it and you have to fix it, or you know, you're one of those people that doesn't like risk, you have an aversion to risk, and you want to buy a new vehicle so that you have the warranty, you have the payment, because you know you've got a good job, you know how much money's coming in every month, you can budget the car payment every month, and you know that, you know, for the next 4 years you have a warranty on that vehicle and nothing's going to happen to it and you're not going to have to pay maintenance. It happens. But at one and the same time, again, Tracy had a Subaru WRX in 2017, brand new 2017 WRX, 20,000 kilometers, the tires fell off of it, had to be replaced. 40,000, the battery went out of it. We had to tow it into Vancouver to get the battery replaced. And then at 50,000, the clutch went out of it. So that really kind of put the kibosh on me ever wanting to buy a Subaru after that. I mean, great car, fast, but you know, when the clutch goes out of it at 50,000 kilometers, like, probably not. So we're talking about winter time, getting ready here, putting tires on. Tires are probably the most important thing. You don't necessarily have to put winter tires on your vehicle for the season. However, you do need tires that are rated, either have the mountain snowflake symbol on them or have M and S on them, which is mud and snow. And in some places, Quebec, for example, here in British Columbia, there are certain highways that you cannot go on unless your tires are winter rated. And most tires, most all-season tires are going to be winter rated. You want to have good tread on your tires so that you don't end up in the ditch, okay? It is the only thing between you and for a set of snow tires, but do make sure that you have decent quality tires on your vehicle. All newer vehicles are going to have tire pressure monitoring systems on them, so make sure that if you have a tire with low air pressure on it, that you get it pumped up, get it fixed. If you are loyal to the same tire shop and you buy your tires from a particular tire shop, you go back to that tire shop, they will fix punctures and they will do tire rotations over the life of the tires. So there is benefit to being loyal to the same tire shop and getting your tires there, getting them and purchasing them from that particular tire shop and then going back to that tire shop. Because as I said, free repairs on punctures and free tire rotations. And if you go in and get your tires rotated on a vehicle and you haven't been to that shop before, it's going to cost you probably $60 to get the tires rotated on your vehicle. And you need to rotate the tires on your vehicle for even wear every 2 oil changes, which is 10,000 kilometers, 6,500 miles on your vehicle. You should be rotating the tires. And as well, if you buy tires that have a warranty, you are going to have to rotate those tires as per the conditions of the warranty. In addition to that, you're probably going to have to get your car aligned at certain intervals. Oftentimes it's about 35,000 kilometers. So look at the conditions of the warranty the conditions of the warranty to make sure that that warranty is valid if the tires prematurely wear out, because I have had tires do that in the past where they do not make it to whatever the guarantee, which was, I think on the Michelins, it was 120,000 kilometers. All right, we'll leave it there for tonight. Thank you so much for all your questions, your participation in the live stream. Always a pleasure, my friends. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.